Good evening, everybody. This is Food for Thought Thoughts. If it were you, this is Neo Gentrix. How is everybody doing today? Now, there's a lot of different things that's going on in life, and everyone has a lot of different things that they like to talk about. And, I cover a lot of stuff from A to Z. I cover life-related things, life lessons, stupid questions. I mentioned a second ago. I've had a lot of people ask me this, like, traffic light's a great invention. Who invented it? So we're gonna take a short break here, and then we'll go into that. All right, everybody. Okay, and we're back. So we're gonna go into that question, like I mentioned before. Who invented the traffic light? There's the question for today. First things first. Traffic lights, or traffic signals, or whatever you want to call them, they're typically located where? Like on the corner in cities and towns. They're at like almost every intersection now. And the color lights are red, yellow, and green, respectively, whether upside down, right side up, sideways, or diagonal. I've seen those. They indicate when it's safe to cross an intersection, whether walking, driving, riding, biking, flying. Yeah, we have those for flying and for trains too, surprisingly, despite them not exactly. Well, I mean, planes have more free path and trains have a more direct path. But I digress. More interesting though is that the first traffic signal. How do I put this? Well, let's start with this. The first instance where it became needed that we needed something of that nature to direct traffic was back in the 1860s, where traffic jams were a problem, even before the invention of the automobile. Keep this in mind. Horse-drawn carriages and pedestrians, crowded roads, especially in London, were a thing. The British Railway, what was this guy's name? John Knight, I do believe, suggested adapting a railroad method for controlling traffic, because they have a system that they use for that. Railroads used a semaphore system with small arms extending from a pole to indicate whether a train could pass or not. In John P. Knight's adaptation of this, the semaphores would, signal when to stop or go during the day, and at night, red and green lights would be used using gas lamps that would illuminate the signs at night, and a police officer would be stationed next to the signals to operate them. Okay? So, gas lamps were a thing. We didn't have light bulbs at the time, yet. That comes later, obviously. So, we had railroads, we had train signals, we had stop and go signals in the past. We had no way of controlling traffic until later. This is also where that game Red Light, Green Light comes from. So there's a little did you know fact right there. The world's first traffic signal was installed December 9, 1868, I do believe, at the intersection of Bridge Street and Great George Street in London Borough. of Westminster. It was near the House of Parliament and the Westminster Bridge. It was a success, just to shorten that. And Knight predicted there would be more to be installed later on. However, a month or so later, a police officer controlling the signals was badly injured when a leak in the gas main caused one of the lights to explode in his face, and then the project was declared a public hazard and was immediately dropped. So, public safety was always an issue, even in the past. Next day, let's see. What happened after that incident? Oh, yeah. After that, about 4 decades passed before traffic signals began to grow in popularity again, mainly here in the United States. And as more automobiles started to hit the road in the early 1900s, they saw several patents being filed, each with different innovations for the same basic idea. Trying to simplify it where it was a lot safer to use, obviously, so it doesn't blow up in somebody's face. And it wasn't until 1910 when Ernest Serene, an American inventor, introduced an automatically controlled traffic signal in Chicago. His signal used 2 illuminated display arms arranged as a cross that rotated on an axis. According to a lot of different text that I managed to read, the signs read stop and proceed. Those were what they used. The first electric traffic light using red and green lights was invented in 1912 by a man named Lester Farnsworth Wire. He was a police officer in Salt Lake City, Utah. At least to my knowledge, I do believe it was in Utah. Anyway, wire traffic signals resembled a four-sided birdhouse mounted on a pole. It's placed in the middle of the intersection and was powered by an overhead trolley wire. A police officer had to manually switch the direction of the lights, though. So we're still in a manual system at this point. Okay, we're back. Here's where things get interesting. You're going to love this, okay? Now we're going to move forward. It's now that we've gotten to the part where we're basically making electric traffic lights. Let's go into that for a second here. You're going to love this. The credit for the first electric traffic signal usually goes to a guy named James B. Hogate. A system based on his design was installed back in August 5th, 1914 in Cleveland. He received the patent for the system in 1918, though. He had filed his application in 1913. Okay? His traffic signal used the alternating illuminated words stop and move installed on a single post on each of the 4 corners of the intersection. The system was wired such that police and fire departments could adjust the rhythm of the lights in case of an emergency, obviously. The guy named William Gilglear, forget it. His last name's kind of hard to pronounce. I remember the name, I could spell it, but it doesn't help with the pronunciation. He was from San Francisco. He patented the first automatic traffic signal that used the red and green lights that we know of today in 1917. His design had the option of being either automatic or manual, though, so he had the option to change it back and forth, without having to mess with the system itself. In 1920, a guy named William Potts, he was a Detroit police officer, developed several automatic traffic light systems that included the 3-color signal. He added in the yellow caution light that we know of today. So at this point, now we have a basic red, green, yellow light system, or red, yellow, green light system, and it's automatic to a point, and it's electric. Now, here's where things get interesting, and I had to do a little extra research to find this out. It wasn't until 1923 where a black man named Garrett Morgan patented an electric automatic traffic signal. He was the first African American to own a car in Cleveland on top of that, by the way. He also invented the gas mask. So there's another tidbit for you. Morgan's design used a T-shaped pole unit with 3 positions, besides go and stop. The system also first stopped traffic in all directions to give drivers time to stop or get through the intersection. Another benefit of Morgan's design was that it could be produced inexpensively, thus increasing the number of signals that could be installed. He sold the rights to his traffic signal to GE, or General Electric as we know it today, for $40,000. I had to look that up. I forgot how much it was up until this point. The first electric traffic light in Europe, though, was installed until 1924 by Potsdamer Platz in Berlin. But according to Marcus Weltz, the CEO of Siemens Intelligent Traffic Systems here in the U.S., the 5-sided traffic light was mounted on a tower and was primarily manual, with some automation, which only required a single police officer to manage it. A replica now still stands nearby as a popular tourist attraction over in Europe. But, that was the first time an electric system was installed in Europe. It was basically created here in America. So, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, pedestrian signals didn't actually become a thing until later. They began being included with the traffic signals in 1930. And according to the U.S. Department of Transportation, a walk, don't walk signal was first tested in New York in 1934. It even used an upright palm to indicate stop. So that's always been a thing. It also had the version of it that said walk and don't walk. John S. Allen, an American inventor, filed one of the earliest patents in 1947 for a dedicated pedestrian signal. His design had the pedestrian signal mounted on a curb level. It also was proposed that the signal could be, it can contain advertisements. In his application, he explained that the word stop and go could be followed by the word for, which in turn would be followed by a brand name if you'd like. So they were advertisements at first, but they had good intentions for it. Though the design initially was kind of creepy to look at. The traffic signals continued to improve as time went on. Many traffic signals are intelligent now and can monitor real-time traffic situations, including direction, volume, density, and as well as prioritize public transportation systems. A guy named Weltz said that Siemens is working on a project in Tampa, Florida to implement the connected vehicle technology, which allows the system to directly communicate with the cars and the GPS system. Basically, it made it so that communications are sent from over 40 traffic lights to cars equipped with the technology to receive the basic safety messages either on the rear mirror or in the in-dash computer. Okay? That's currently where we're heading now. So with that being said, with the future being designed around self-driving cars, and that's a thing that's not going to die anytime soon, with these new technologies coming in and the recent scenario being published by MIT Sensible City Labs in 2016, the PLOS-1 is one of the few beta testing systems that basically allows for the traffic light system to connect to the onboard computers of the vehicles that's coming, so it knows how many vehicles are sitting at the intersection, so it knows how much time it needs to take before its transition. And also how many pedestrians is on the street by, interconnecting the signals and seeing where everyone is. So for those out there that's not a fan of interconnected systems, people being interconnected to their phones or such of that nature, keep in mind this is where we're going. But that's basically who invented the traffic light, its history, and how it got to where it's at now. We're still proceeding with a lot of the culture and such as it's continuing to grow, so we'll see where it goes. Alright, everybody, that's about it. So, to sum this up in a nutshell, and yes, I know that was a bit of a long episode, I apologize for that, It wasn't until 1923 that a black man named Garrett Morgan patented the first electric automatic traffic system that we see nowadays. It was created by an African American, though he doesn't seem to get a lot of credit for it. The original inventor of the traffic signal was the guy named J.P. Knight, back in the 1900s. Early 1900s. Though he's still given the credit for creating the first traffic signal, the first electric automatic system wasn't created till later by this guy, Garrett Morgan. It helps to know a little bit about your history and, here and there, and find out stuff that you didn't already know. It's sad when I ask people, do you know who created this or created that, and they can't seem to remember, or they automatically give it to someone who doesn't deserve it. I don't fawn over ignorance, I assure you, but I do like to help people who don't know. Why stay ignorant when you can learn, That aside, if this series does well, and I'm going to do a couple more episodes like this of who invented or did you know, if you have any topic suggestions, send them in. I'll be happy to cover them. And go over a little bit of the history of the item and who actually invented it, and give the credit to who actually, deserves it, despite what the world may think. Wars are fought on both sides, but the history is written by the winners. But that doesn't mean that someone isn't copying or writing down the history of those who lost. And if that means I have to cover it myself, I will. So with that, again, this has been Food for Thought, Thoughts If It Were You. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. If you like what you hear, like or subscribe on my podcast on anchor.fm/Neogentrix, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Enjoy the rest of your day.